Namaste. Hello and welcome to the Kundalini podcast. That was Zen. This is Tao. I'm Vivek, Govekar. This is episode 49, and I'm going to answer some of the questions that were asked to me in the comments section. Also, some suggestions that I received, and I thought I'd incorporate them in these videos because these were very helpful suggestions. One of the suggestions was make sure the camera is still and you're not moving all the time. And the second is to make eye contact with the listeners. And you're absolutely right. I went back and looked at my videos. My first 18 videos were all made on a Canon point and shoot. And it was easier to just look in the lens. Then I started making them with the iPhone because it's a lot easier to load the video on YouTube using an iPhone than it is with a camera. I have to take the SD card out and load it on a computer, etc. So I've just given more thought to convenience than how the video is best received. Obviously, keeping it still is an easier one. And now I'm just focusing on the lens here in the camera, not looking at my image. So that way it will look like I'm making eye contact. So thank you for the suggestions. I really appreciate it. The other was a set of questions that I received from someone who gave me a couple of questions. You can check out the questions on the previous video, number 48. And the questions are related to how does Kundalini make you different from an average unawakened person? And some of the questions were related to does it give you, can you, for example, work on quantum mechanics? Yeah, that's a very good question. Does it give you an insight into the oneness of all human beings, how they're connected? Again, a very good question. And both of these questions are very deeply interconnected. Because what is quantum mechanics? It is an attempt by physicists to explain and categorize and quantify the workings of the universe. And at this point, I don't follow physics as deeply as I would like to. But from what I've understood, we are stuck at that string theory stage, which explains all of the macro universe as we know it. And I may be getting this wrong. And then there's the quantum universe, subatomic, which works completely differently. And as a result of that, we haven't been able to find a theory of everything, a theory that combines everything and explain the world as it is. Well, the way I answered that particular question in the comments section was, metaphysically, all of these questions have been answered. They've already been done. They may not be in a physics format with the mathematics and the equations, or they may not be quantifiable for the purposes we need in life, like finding out more useful technology, something we can use to make our lives better. And so that brought about some interesting topics in my mind and thought I'd address those. First of all, to look at Kundalini from a utilitarian point of view, to say, what use can I have from this, is the wrong way of looking at it. In a way, you could say it has no utility because it is about the personal awakening of that individual who awakens. But as a result of that, the freeing of boundaries, of not thinking in a certain pattern that's been set up, to only look at things from useful or non-useful, it actually takes off that requirement and makes you in touch with your deeper self. Not just working towards making money, not just working towards a set, regimented, practical point of view. Ironically, what ends up happening is the people who don't think that way, who think outside the box, so to speak, are the ones who end up coming up with revolutionary ideas. Okay, that's not necessarily true, but in my opinion, people who have awakened and found a way of expressing their spiritual, mystical experience. First of all, you can never do justice to it by just explaining in words. That's not how it is. It is the vastness, the totality, the infinite. And you'll now become one with it and have a way to transcend your ego mind. The boundary mechanism is the ego mind. There is a reason why we are susceptible to impressions from the outside. We get programmed by those ideas let's say you watch a TV show that you like, and that TV show has some helpful hints, lessons, advice, shown in drama, in a dramatic form. One way or the other, it is making an imprint on you and drives you a certain way. The Kundalini awakened person is out of that. Yes, you're still influenced by popular culture and you still watch cinema and read books, but naturally you're inclined towards something better, something higher, of a higher, more refined nature. And the art that comes out, the way you choose to express yourself, the way it comes out, is in these very vague, ambiguous things. And they all end up sounding like positive things, karma, etc. The deeper meaning behind those things, if you understand them, is to set up these stepping stones. And nothing I say today will affect you the same way it will affect you, let's say, 5 years from now. Because now, time has gone by. You've put some practices in play, like meditation, like yoga, like pranayama, doing positive affirmations, disconnecting from negative influences. And 5 years later, without you even knowing it, gradually that change has become a part of you. You're now a different person, more inherent, closer to your inherent divinity, to your real nature, and not what society has programmed you. So, is it possible for someone to have some insight about quantum mechanics? Quite possible. Let's say the person was a scientist, as was my case. And he has this gnosis and he looks in that direction. It could end up happening that that person gets deeper into quantum mechanics and now has a much deeper insight into it. If he chooses to, or she chooses to, use this greater awareness, this awakening towards that purpose. But let's say if you were a scientist and that being a scientist was forced on you. I'm inherently a scientist. I am very curious about things, but I may not necessarily pursue science the way I did before because that didn't please me. So now I might end up discovering that I'm a better artist, I'm a better photographer. Okay? And you're free to pursue those goals regardless of what has been programmed into you and who you think you should be based on assumptions in the past. The other thing that person asked for was, well, can we not have these things without an awakening? Yes, of course you can. But it's the general purpose things. As I've said in my videos, the positive thinking, good karma, all of these things can be put in place, used by anyone. Anyone can benefit from them, and the people around them can benefit from this greater insight that you have now developed because of putting these practices into play, yoga and meditation. But an awakening of the Kundalini is a very different experience from normal reality. That is just the nature of how things are. This is not something that I'm saying so that my ego is worshipped. I don't care if people worship me. What you get from the awakening is enough to fulfill any approval, disapproval, any of those mechanisms, those back and forths that have been set up in society. So, utilitarian purposes, they drop away. You focus on becoming your own true self. You explain these things on that karma, positive thinking, that level, so that people can inherently change themselves. Understand, if you're thinking with the same old mindset, the same old mentality, the same old junk, you're drawing more of that same into your life. So, the purpose of an awakened person making videos is so that other people can realize this is the path towards awakening. And no, this is not fundamentally different from anything anybody else had said in the past, because I'm not here to say something different. I'm here to give you mechanisms, tried and tested, proven, that I can point to and say, yes, this method definitely works. And all those paths go through good karma, positive actions, etc. There is no other way. You cannot bypass those and still get the Kundalini experience. So it is a path on which to get on to get the Kundalini experience, if you're lucky. If you are lucky and if you get this awakening, you will use it for whatever you think is right. You are self-guided that way, and that energy, the awakening, guides you. If you make a mistake, it will correct course automatically. You will make some mistakes, but you are less likely to do them more than once or more than a couple of times, because that mechanism will bring you back to where you are supposed to be. Assimilating with society and how you use that energy is what decides what that experience will do for you and for others. And that will be different for every single human being that gets this awakening. Which is why you don't see a bunch of Kundalini people now saying, no, your experience should only be this, you should only do that. That happens in unawakened people, in unawakened masses of people. And that's the whole difference between an awakening and a mass of unawakened people. Following the herd, following the crowd, not following your own inner voice, your individuality, is what separates an awakened individual from unawakened people. Okay, but are these things set up within you? Can you go towards those things? Yes. Will you be on a higher spiritual plane as a result of doing those things? Yes. Will that experience be different from an awakened person's experience? Yes. And no, it's not something that is just given to anyone. Why? Don't ask me. I just got it. I'm explaining it to people and spreading the word. Here's the good thing though. The things that you think are banal, are just, what's the big deal about this, positive thinking, good karma, are actually very, very powerful as well. They've become banal and have been associated with this beatific image of a guru or a saint purely because we have now found things that are more exciting. The bad things that are going to bring bad consequences in your life are usually most exciting. Doing drugs, doing alcohol, going about recklessly in the world are definitely exciting. They have that fleeting, instantaneous result that you get. Okay? So bringing yourself on the right path is very difficult. Getting out of temptation is difficult. As a result of that, you are less likely to see people not just awakened, but even on that awakened path. You are less likely to see a yogi or a meditator doing absolutely foolish, stupid things because that stillness, that calmness has been brought into them. Okay, so a Kundalini awakening by itself will not give you everything magically all at once. In fact, if you don't have a guru, if you awakened spontaneously like I did, or accidentally, whatever you want to call it, you are going through a tough path. You are going to go through some really nasty things in your own life, which you have to confront, spiritual things, and you have to overcome them even after an awakening. With an awakening, it keeps prompting you, keeps prodding you, and won't let you deviate from path too much. Okay, so that's the difference. Kind of the ego mind and this mass delusion that we live in has an easier grasp on you, an easier hold on your personality if you're not awakened. With an awakening, initially there is a struggle to move more towards spirituality or towards your chosen pursuits, and how society is still trying to put you back into that mold. This is my example, of course. Other people may have had different experiences. But the attempt to work towards spirituality, towards the goal of an awakening, is absolutely essential. Bypassing any of these things, good karma, positive thinking, is just making it tougher on yourself. We are already swimming upstream. We are already swimming upstream with the society we live in and what has been set up around us. Why make it more difficult? Make it easier on yourself by already avoiding the pitfalls and the negativity, and try to awaken to your true inner self. I hope that was helpful. Thank you. Be well.